Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make strawberry shortcake, and this is what it looks like. This dessert starts with a biscuit, or you may know it as a scone. You cut it in half, and then it's filled and topped with lightly sweetened strawberries and lots of whipped cream. You know, it's the perfect summer dessert. So, to start, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius, and then you will need a baking sheet. I've lined mine with a sheet of parchment paper, but you could lightly butter it or even spray it with one of those nonstick sprays. So, when I make a biscuit or a scone, I do it by hand. So, you will need a large bowl. I have 2 cups, which is 260 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. To that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons, which is 8 grams of baking powder. I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of salt. And I like to add a little sugar, just 1 tablespoon, 15 grams of granulated white sugar. Some people don't like any sugar in their biscuits or scones. Some people like more. You know, you could add, I would think maybe up to like maybe 1/4 cup, 50 grams of sugar if you want like a really sweet biscuit. And then just going to whisk that. Using a wire whisk, you just use a fork or your fingers. Okay, and biscuits, you need butter. So I'm going to add 1/3 cup, 75 grams. Now, you can use, I'm using unsalted butter. I like the flavor, but you could use salted butter if you wanted to, either one. And have your butter cold, I mean really cold. What I do is I take my butter out of the fridge, you know, maybe an hour before I'm going to make my biscuits. I cut it into chunks, and then I put it back into the refrigerator to get those really nice and cold. And that'll help give us a really nice flaky and light biscuit. Let's put that in there. And then what we want to do is cut our butter into our flour mixture until it's like, you still have little chunks. You can still see the butter, but like kind of like coarse crumbs, I would say. Now, I like to use, I've always used a pastry blender like this. You don't have to. You could use 2 knives and kind of cut through, or you could just use your fingertips and kind of rub, you know, the butter through. But I like my pastry blender, so just cut it down, makes easy job of it. Okay, that looks good. Sure. So this is what you're looking for. You see, it's kind of coarse crumbs. There's some larger chunks of butter. That's perfectly fine. Don't worry about that. So now, for our liquid, I like to use a 1/2 cup, 120 milliliters, 120 grams. Now you can use just milk. You could use like a light cream, or you could use a heavy cream. The difference will be is how rich your biscuits will taste. So I'm just using, what am I using? 1/2 and 1/2. It's kind of a compromise between milk and heavy cream. And I'm also going to add 1 large egg, which is about 50 grams. And have your egg cold and have your cream cold. And I like the difference between a biscuit that just uses like milk or cream and one that uses a combination is the texture. When you use an egg, I would say your biscuit is more cake-like, which is what I want here because it's strawberry shortcake. You could make it eggless. I know some people will want to. So what you do is, instead of a 1/2 cup, 120 mils of milk or cream, you would use somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4. So 160 to 180 mils. So that would be the difference. And you would get, if you don't use an egg, it would be more bread-like. So I'll leave that up to you, which one you want. So put your egg in your cream and then just kind of whisk it. Now, I don't add all of my liquid to my dry ingredients to start off. Just make a little well in the center. Because depending on the flour, how it was stored, it can absorb different amounts of liquid. So I put in most of it, but I leave a little behind because I may or may not need it. And then you could use a fork, you could use a spatula. I'm just using a flat edge here to kind of mix it in. Now, like they always say, you want a light biscuit, so you want a light touch to your mixing. You only want to mix until it comes together. So I'm going to get my hands in there. I find it's the best way to mix. You want to make sure that all the flour is moistened. So I'm going to add just, not quite all of it, but just a little more. Because I'm almost there. Yeah, that'll be good. You don't want it really wet. You just want it to hold together. Okay, I'm good with that. So, with my bowl over here. And you will need a little flour. And just flour down. And then we're just going to knead this a few times to bring it together. Not overdo it, just a few times. And then what I'm going to do, some people roll. I just pat it into a circle, about a 7-inch circle, which is 18 centimeters. And that'll give us about the right thickness. If you're, I mean, you can eyeball it, or, you know, if you have a ruler, you can use your ruler to do that. Done it a few times, so I kind of know what about 7 inches is. And then you will need a round cookie cutter. You can make your scones or your biscuits as large or as small. I'm going to make them about 3 inches, which is 7.5 centimeters. Normally I would use a plain cookie cutter, but I can't find them. So I have to use a fluted, which is fine. Now there's different ways. I'm going to leave this up to you. Some people cut straight down, and some people say you don't cut straight down, you kind of turn as you cut down. I cut straight down. That's how I do it. So please don't comment. And then just put it on your baking sheet. Now, and this, some people say, you know, I space mine apart. Some people like to crowd them so they all kind of bake together. Again, I'll leave that up to you. If you had to check your bottom of your biscuit, if there's a lot of flour, you just brush that off. And then I'm going to get 6. I should. Out of this. So just gather up your scraps and pat them together and then cut out the rest. Here's my final one. Okay, a couple scraps. So if your hands are like mine, what I do is just take a little flour and rub it over the bowl, and that at least clean it up a bit. And so now, I like to brush the tops of the biscuits with a little, you could use milk or cream, whatever you have. Use a pastry brush, and that just helps with browning. Gives it a little shine. Okay, so that's the last one. So now, for baking, everyone's oven is a little different. I'm going to say somewhere between 15 to 18 minutes. I do like to rotate my baking sheet halfway through baking. And so what you're looking for, they will rise. And if you touch the top, it will be, the outside will be kind of crispy, I guess, or firm. And there'll be a little browning, won't be really deep, but a light brown. And you could, I mean, normally I just go by the look, and the more you bake biscuits, the more you'll just be able to know by eyeballing it. But you can take a toothpick and insert it into the center, and it will come out clean. So 15 to 18 minutes. Okay, so our biscuits are done. So put your baking sheet on a wire rack. So see a little bit nicely browned, light brown, and then on the bottom and firm to the touch. If you did take a toothpick and insert it in the center, it will come out clean. So while those are cooling, we're going to start our strawberries. Now, for 6 strawberry shortcakes, so if you don't want to make 6, you can adjust this, you will need 2 pounds, 900 grams of fresh strawberries. And so you want to wash your strawberries. Make sure you pick through them, get rid of any bruised, soft ones. And then take out about a third. You can just eyeball this. And take the tops off. You can use a knife, or I just usually use my finger. My mom actually had like a tool, like little, almost like large tweezers. And then I'm just going to roughly chop them and put them in there. Now I'm going to mash these because, you know, I don't know about you, but I like a little bit of juice within the strawberry shortcake. So what I'm going to do is take this, and I got a potato masher. You could just take a fork, but I find this really works. And just kind of soften them, kind of. This way the juice will come out of these ones. Just like that. And then I'm going to take the rest of my strawberries, and again, just use my finger. And now some people like it in their strawberries in slices. I actually like chunks. So, you know, bite-sized chunks. And then I'm going to do all of these. Just dump it in with your mashed strawberries. Okay, my last one. Okay. So now, we need a little sugar. I always taste my strawberries first to judge the sweetness, because you never know by looking at them. Sometimes the really bright red ones are actually a little tart, which mine are, actually. So I'm going to say for 2 pounds, 900 grams of fresh strawberries, you will need, depending, a quarter of a cup to maybe a third of a cup, which is 50 to say 65 grams of granulated white sugar. But again, you may need less, you may need more, and then depends how sweet do you like your strawberries. So I'm going to mix that all together. Now, you want to do this, your strawberries, I would say like at least a half hour before you want to serve them, because what I want to do, once you put that sugar on, I want to let these sit at room temperature. And what will happen, that sugar will cause the strawberries to release their juices and get a little soft. And that's what I want, because I like a little bit of juice when I'm you know, getting my strawberry shortcake and put a little juice over the top. So I'm just going to taste that. Just a little more. So I'm not, this is, you know, maybe close to 1/4 cup, 50 grams. So there we have it. So like I said, just let this sit, you know, if you can. I mean, you could make them right away if you want, if you don't care about the juice. But I'm just going to let this sit for a bit. And then when we come back, we'll make our whipped cream and then we'll assemble our strawberry shortcake. So now we're going to make the whipped cream topping. But before that, as your strawberries sit, every once in a while, what I like to do is just give them a good stir. You know, when you're kind of walking by through the kitchen. Okay, so now for our whipped cream, if you have a stand mixer like I have here, use your whisk attachment. You could use a hand mixer or really just a bowl with a wire whisk. For this amount, you will need 1 cup, 240 milliliters, 240 grams of cold, heavy whipping cream or heavy cream. And that's cream with a 35 to 40% butterfat content, or what that means is when I whip it, it will hold stiff peaks. Now, I'm going to sweeten it with 1 tablespoon, 15 grams of granulated white sugar. Now, when you make whipped cream, you know, you can add more sugar, less sugar, no sugar. I mean, really, it's up to you. What I do is typically you make it and then you taste it, and then if you want more sugar, you can add it. You could also add, if you want to, a 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams of pure vanilla extract to give it a little vanilla flavor. So now I'm going to whip this. I'm going to start on low speed because I don't want that cream coming up in my face, and then I'll increase the speed to medium high and beat it until nice stiff peaks. Okay, that looks done. So that's what you're looking for, just like that. Now, sometimes you accidentally overbeat your cream. If that happens, just put a little more cold, heavy cream in there and then just use your wire whisk, kind of whisk it around, and that will thin it out a bit. Always a fix. So now, let's put this in here. This cream, I find it will hold a couple hours in the fridge. You could just cover it. And then if it does soften up at all, if you see a little liquid, then just take your wire whisk and then just whisk it a bit more and it'll come back together. So to serve your strawberry shortcake, typically at home, I don't actually assemble it myself. I just let everyone do that themselves. What I do is just, have the plate. Now, how you cut your biscuit, I'm just going to use a knife. I know some people say you shouldn't do that. You can use a fork, you can use your finger. I'm using a knife. And then what I do at home is just do that, and then everybody can just put as much or a little. And typically, I don't build it, I'll do that. But really what I like to do is just put the strawberries and the cream on both slices. That's how I eat mine, but we'll do it the proper way today. So on the bottom, you can put some people put the cream first, I like to put my strawberries, and then, because that way the juice will leak into my biscuit. And there we go. And then, a nice dollop of cream. Can you have too much cream? No, I don't think so. And then put it on top. And then I'm going to put some more, just a little bit, and a little bit more cream. There we have it. Oh, I think it says summer to me. And if you want it, you could dust the top with some powdered sugar. I don't think it needs it. Put it on a pretty plate. I think you got a really, I mean, it's kind of casual dessert, but you can dress it up like that. I think it's rude. And if you serve it like shortly after, like we are, the biscuits, the outside will still be quite crisp, and then the inside will be very soft. If you let them sit, you know, maybe you even made them the day before, then the outside will soften. I don't know. I like them both ways. But today we got the outside crisp. Really good. You got the strawberries. So you want to make sure when you make a strawberry shortcake that you have pretty good strawberries, because, I mean, that's the focus here. You have the biscuit, like I said, crisp on the outside, very light and flaky and buttery. Very good. And then, of course, the whipped cream. Everything tastes better with whipped cream. It's really good. But let your strawberries sit a little, and you can see I've got quite a bit of juice in there. That's the way I like them, nice, like softer. Excellent. You have to make this. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.